The message arrived at exactly 9:47 a.m. on a Tuesday morning. I was seated in my office reviewing quarterly performance reports for my property portfolio, carefully scanning revenue projections and maintenance forecasts, when my phone lit up with a notification from the family group chat. The notification was pinned to the top, marked urgent by my cousin Derek. The message was from Aunt Patricia. Family Christmas will be hosted at Riverside Estates this year. Formal attire required. Adults only. Sophia, this means you are not invited. We need attendees who will not embarrass us in front of the right crowd. Within minutes, responses flooded in. Uncle James reacted with a thumbs up. My mother replied that it was finally going to be a classy Christmas. Cousin Derek added 3 laughing emojis. My sister Rebecca commented that it was probably for the best since I would show up in jeans anyway. I placed my phone down slowly beside my coffee mug, feeling the warmth of the ceramic against my hand. Outside my office window, the city stretched out 23 floors below. It was the same skyline I had looked at every day for 6 years as the CEO of Martinez Property Group. It was the same view I had earned while my family insisted I was confused about my role in life. For 15 years, I had been labeled the family disappointment. I was the one who supposedly wasted a finance degree on buying buildings instead of marrying well like Rebecca. I was the one who wore tailored blazers to family dinners rather than floral dresses my mother preferred. I was the one who talked about leases, cap rates, and renovations instead of discussing private schools and social circles. My phone buzzed again. Aunt Patricia added another message stating they had already paid a non-refundable $8,500 deposit. She said this would finally be the Christmas the Martinez family deserved. I picked up my office phone and called my assistant, who answered immediately. I asked her to connect me with James Chin at Riverside Estates, my property manager. She paused briefly and acknowledged the irony, since Riverside Estates was one of my most valuable assets. Riverside Estates was the crown jewel of my portfolio. I had acquired it 4 years earlier when the previous owners defaulted on their commercial loan. The property consisted of 42 acres of manicured grounds and a 20,000 square foot main building, capable of hosting 500 guests. The market value was over $4 million. I had purchased it outright for $2.8 million in cash and invested another $600,000 into renovations and modernization. My family had never known. James answered the call and told me he had noticed a booking request from a Patricia Martinez and wondered if she was related to me. I confirmed that she was family and asked him to pull up the reservation details. The event was scheduled for December 25th from 2 in the afternoon until 9 in the evening. 50 guests, premium bar package, full catering service, total contract value $32,000. A deposit had been paid and the remaining balance was due December 1st. I glanced back at the group chat. Cousin Melissa had just posted that she was glad they did not have to pretend to be nice to me, and that I never fit in anyway. There is a psychological phenomenon known as the spotlight effect, which describes how people overestimate how much others notice them. My family had spent years treating me as if I were constantly under a spotlight of failure. Every business move I made was labeled risky. Every success was dismissed as luck. What they failed to notice was that I had stopped seeking their validation long ago. I had built my own platform. I instructed James to send an automated cancellation notice using the standard template. I told him to cite the clause that allowed the property owner to refuse events that excluded ownership from attendance. He hesitated and asked if I was certain I wanted to cancel my aunt's Christmas. I reminded him that the policy existed for exactly this situation and that it was clearly outlined in the contract. Section 7, Paragraph 3. They had signed it. James confirmed the cancellation would be processed, the deposit forfeited, and the date blocked for personal use. When I hung up, my coffee had gone cold. I did not drink it. Family dynamics are often built on unspoken power structures. For years, my family believed they held authority because they followed traditional definitions of success: marriage, status, appearances. I was the outlier, but power only exists when both sides agree to it. 53 seconds later, my phone exploded with calls and messages. Aunt Patricia called first. I ignored it. then my uncle, then my mother multiple times. The group chat descended into chaos. Confusion turned to panic. Venues were unavailable. Guests were already invited. Reputation was at stake. A call came through from Caroline Hendricks, the events coordinator at Riverside Estates. She explained that Aunt Patricia had arrived at the venue demanding to speak with management. I asked Caroline to put the call on speaker and record it for liability purposes. Aunt Patricia shouted that the staff was incompetent and demanded to speak to the owner. I introduced myself as Sophia Martinez and stated clearly that I owned Riverside Estates. Silence followed. I explained that I had purchased the property in October of 2020 and that the cancellation was due to a violation of the owner exclusion clause. I also clarified that Riverside Estates was not my only asset. I owned multiple commercial and residential properties, including buildings used by several family members. I stated the value of my portfolio and explained that I never discussed it because family gatherings were never a place where my achievements were welcomed. Caroline asked if she should proceed with escorting Aunt Patricia off the property. I confirmed and instructed her to block future booking attempts from immediate family members unless submitted through my legal team. Emotional debts do not appear on balance sheets, but they are real. Years of dismissal, years of minimization, years of being spoken about as if I were lost. The moment they needed something I owned, the balance shifted. My mother eventually called again, questioning my actions. I calmly explained my professional accomplishments and the scope of my business. She did not respond. I ended the call. What followed was procedural and deliberate. Contracts were enforced, access was restricted, documentation was distributed, attorneys were consulted, boundaries were established. I exited the family group chat after stating I was open to respectful conversations, not theatrics. I planned an alternative Christmas with people who had supported me consistently: friends, mentors, colleagues, my grandmother. The dinner was intimate and genuine. Stories were shared, toasts were given, pride replaced dismissal. Months passed. The family gathered elsewhere under crowded conditions. Business relationships adjusted to market rates. Requests from family members to use my properties began arriving with a new question included. Would Sophia be attending? Some requests I approved, others I declined. Aunt Patricia still emails monthly asking me to reconsider. I never reply. There is no feud. There is only a correction, a rebalancing of respect. They wanted an elegant Christmas at Riverside Estates. Instead, they learned the importance of understanding contracts, ownership, and boundaries. I got exactly what I needed: a seat at my own table, in my own space, surrounded by people who truly saw me.